On today's program, when high art becomes the property of the people, and a little bit about the park sculptures adorning the cities of Kazakhstan, and about their author, a sculptor well known in many countries. Objects of art have been inseparable parts of our time, in the office as well as at homes, the interiors of hotels, and even on the streets. Some of them may become brand identities of the streets and cities as well as even countries. They are also used in meeting places and guides. And the hero of today's program also has his works that are symbolic and beloved by all the people of Kazakhstan. Pavel Shorokhanov is a sculptor as well as member of the Union of Arts of Kazakhstan, author of dozens of works that adorn Astana, Almaty, Arkalyk, Balkhash, Talgar, Pavlodar, and other cities of Kazakhstan. His sculptures are in museums and private collections in Kazakhstan, Russia, Germany, Austria, and Italy. The outstanding Kazakh sculptor did not think that in his childhood he would devote his life to that field. It all started with his unusual hobbies, and like thousands of other Soviet school children, he entered into amateur talent contests. But very soon, it turned into something more.
Серьезной подготовки, может быть, не хватало, и у меня временами было такое.
I would say that I had a wish. I used to go to the talent club, but I had no serious preparations. Sometimes I had doubts if I deserved to enter such a high field, if I could even pretend to be a part of it. As I was growing up, I understood that it's not good to treat it like a hobby. If you really love your job, it's time to make a decision. So I entered art school into the section of sculpture. It was a very heavy decision for me because it attracted me as before. Creating in the studio, or what is exhibited in galleries for art and sophisticated people, is definitely an art form. But to be able to go beyond that and to put creativity onto the streets and to make it accessible to everyone and not simply beautify the life of individuals, but of the whole society, is a special gift. Everything in life is kind of randomness. It involves some luck as well. Before going out onto the street with my work, I had worked for 4 years in my school after graduation, and at that time I met again through someone else, and I was introduced to an architect who worked in the framework of the improvement system, and he is now a well-known person, Fazilov Sayran, and he was a chief architect of the city in recent past. During the Soviet time, he worked in a similar project, what was called city beautifying. 30 to 40 years ago in Almaty, there were very little plastic forms. There was a need and an idea to organize a workshop of small architectural forms. So, by chance, I joined this. My first work appeared in Almaty in 1978, 36 years ago. It is nearby the Opera Theater. It was called Café Swallow, so my first work was created there. In the following decades, on the streets of a big city, dozens of his sculptures have appeared. How many family albums store pictures of the smiling family members with a graceful acrobat, or a cheerful clown in a circus, and a couple of flamingos in a fountain walking on Arbat Street, a tiger in Central Park in the city of Almaty, or the young hospitable Kazakh girl near the country's 5-star hotel.
Разнообразным в своем выражении, потому что мир разнообразен.
It is desirable for the artist to be varied in his expression, because the world is diverse. I think it's a huge disadvantage when an artist produces some original and effective thing, but then it turns into a rubber stamp in which he works always in the same way, in the same method. I will not be plunged into those professional issues. It cannot be one and the same vision of various phenomena of the world and different things. Everything is different, and objects cannot be viewed by all the same eye.
Одно и то же видение разных явлений мира и разных вещей, разных объектов, и все одним и тем же глазом, буквально.
At the same time, a series of memorable portrait tablets were also created. In total, more than 40 works adorn the walls of memorial houses where people famous and even those around the world have lived and were created. But Pavel Shorokhanov remains a diverse artist everywhere he goes, starting from the forms and themes of his work, their scale and size, and finishing with materials from which they are executed. The softness and warmth of the wood, as well as the severity of the stone and the ductility of metal, become objects that are both high, but at the same time accessible art under the hands of the master.
Я работал в разных материалах. Начинал я
I have worked with many different materials. I began with wood. Wood is very pleasant stuff, but I walked away from it because you can't put it outside for a very long time, and my hobby is in parks. I work with granite and with different metals like bronze and copper, as well as aluminum and concrete, of course, also smalt and ceramics.
Смальта, керамика.
You can find only comfort, cleanliness, and order in his working place, and here you can see his work in various stages of completion. Ideas begin to take shape only in the form of clay figures and models, and the finished sculptures and photographs of monumental works already installed in parks and on the streets. And here you can see the works of Pavel Ivanovich's son, Dmitry Shorokhanov, the painter and member of the Union of Artists of Kazakhstan. Passing through the studio with Shorokhov Sr. is like visiting a museum of modern art.
Это такая на национальную тему композиция. Какой-то.
Here we can see a composition on a national topic. I would say there is no original version, but I am just interested in dance plastic, the plasticity of the female body. The flamingo is also a famous work on our Arbat walking street, and the fountains are so-called draft, the model. This is the reason to create the same beauty of female plastics. The subject is imagined, but it seems so real, maybe due to my admiration of the female plastic model. Here is also a sketch. That is me in Gorky Park in Central Park, more than 10 years ago. I created a sculpture nearby in the Rodina cinema. It is more decorative, but at the same time it is a sculpture for games, because it's scuffed by children within 10 years.
Эскиз, по сути, это я в парке Горького, в Центральном парке, более 30 лет назад создал это. Нет, это ну, вот такую декоративную скульптуру. Она, по сути, является даже как игровая скульптура. Это ее всю обшарпали малыши за эти десятилетия.
For more than a decade, the works by Pavel Shorokhanov replenished the art fund of our country. Over the years, Kazakhstan has managed to gain independence. A lot of representatives of regional authorities were replaced, but the sculpture works found consumers every time. If in Soviet times I worked in the town's beautification, it was the initiative of the city. Of course, I had frankly no connections, no contact with city officials in post-Soviet times, and now it is in the interest of developers and private urban construction companies. They found me when I offered myself because I had experience. I suited them and they began to invite me periodically to different projects. Sometimes the idea is given by a customer, but often it must be the idea of the author. The author can propose some flexible idea that can be received or objected, reviewed as well, but the author seems to seek and find an agreement with the customer. His creations have motives of different cultural and historical traditions, animalistic and anthropological elements, but most important is that they have life. They are not just treated like pieces of stone or metal, but a kind of being who has its own special character, its own special charm. This is not surprising considering where the author takes his inspiration.
Общение с природой меня это наполняет. Когда случаются какие-то поездки на периферию куда-нибудь.
Having a connection with nature really fulfills me. I do really enjoy when I have trips to the provinces. The steppe, the mountains. Sometimes I have natural tourist trips. I don't understand trips to the sea. I like traveling to old cities and watching sites like samples of architecture, museums. All of these things fulfill me very much.
Поехать в какой-то старый город и смотреть достопримечательности, памятники архитектуры, музеи. Вот это меня особо наполняет.
His works themselves have become great landmarks. For over 30 years, they have inhabited the cities of the country, withstanding the test of time, space, as well as the aggressive natural elements, and causing smiles and good moods, and evoking memories of famous people, and just decorating the landscape.
Искусство, как и сама жизнь, должны меняться, совершенствоваться, хотя ко многим явлениям это трудно применимо, слово «совершенствоваться». Почему так? Потому что базовые...
Art, such as life, should always be changed and improved, although some phenomena are difficult to apply the word improve to. Why is it that because of some basic positions that are lost, it seems contradictory to the development of the countries? Because when it concerns industry and technology, there's obviously many kinds of progress. But with regard to culture, arts, and literature, I have some doubts into the progressive development. I see the weakening of academic education. Because to build a house, you need a foundation. Otherwise, it will fall apart. The same is with fine art. In order to speak, we must learn to speak and comprehend the form, as well as in literature. To write well, we need to learn the language and study the letter.
Я вижу ослабление академического образования. Ведь чтобы построить дом, нужен фундамент, иначе все рассыпется. Так и в изобразительном искусстве. Чтобы уметь сказать, надо научиться говорить, то есть постичь форму. Так же, как в литературе, нужно, чтобы хорошо писать, говорить, нужно познать язык, изучить грамоту.
The stars of our program are successful in many different areas, and they define the concept of success in many different ways. For Pavel Ivanovich Shorokhanov, success is not fame. It's something that he never sought, and it's not found in great wealth either. His success is special.
Успех, мне кажется, на мое понимание, это когда есть возможность.
Success, it seems to me, and to my understanding, is that when you have a chance to do what you really want to do. And what the results are can't be judged always by yourself. You need some time to determine the success of these results. I am lucky that I had the opportunity to express myself as an artist. It was not all that I wanted, but to have had such a chance is already happiness and success in itself.
Как художнику. Не все было как хотел, но что была такая возможность, это уже счастье, удача.